Well, as if the border crisis wasn't bad enough, now our own immigration agents are making it worse. Forget about keeping illegals out. Some of these guys are giving them a heads up. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. And all this time, I bet you thought immigration agents helped, well, crack down on drug cartels. What if I told you a few of them work with those cartels, not to help us, but to help themselves? It's true. Stunning reports, first investigated by the Washington Times, of immigration agents snooping into law enforcement databases and, in the case of some Mexican drug rings, even warning them if they were under investigation. Does any of this ring a bell? Well, it should. Sounds like a lot of VA officials faked waiting lists for records and then lost records, or no less than the IRS losing thousands of emails. But this is more than just taxing or insulting. Play fast and loose with our border by the folks supposedly protecting our border does more than border on criminal. It is criminal, and it is very dangerous. And we wonder why illegals come here in busloads. I have to think that these guys might now and then be the ones driving them. But don't believe me. I'd like to have your thoughts shared here as well. Hashtag Cavuto to share with me what you think. To Arizona Republican Congressman Paul Gosar, what he thinks. Congressman, what do you make of this and the fact that a few hundred agents were involved? So again, it's not the entire agency, but it does raise questions about this agency. What do you think?
It does, but it shows us a lack of this administration to uphold the rule of law. Neil, you know, Justice Brandeis once said that if a government doesn't uphold the rule of law scrupulously, it breeds contempt for the law and breeds contempt for every man to be a law unto himself. And this is an example of what you just saw.
Do you think that these cartels, believe me, I'm not trying to justify this behavior, but some of them apparently threatened U.S. border agents and said, look, if you don't turn a blind eye, you know, a relative who you love could just die. In other words, it gets to be very threatening and very intimidating, and much as they act south of the border, they're beginning to act north of the border.
Oh, absolutely. You know, being proactive. You know, we've seen cells do this, you know, in the Middle East. We've seen it all the way across the board. So why wouldn't they continue doing that north of the border?
So what would you advocate we do about this?
Well, I think what we need to do is make sure that the people that we have control of, our Border Patrol, know what's right and wrong. And then if you stray from what's wrong, that you face a penalty. And then also what we need to start doing is putting people in better positions by upholding the rule of law and starting to crack down on the drug cartels and smugglers.
All right. There was another argument raised that maybe these agents are too distracted. They're supposed to be watching the border. Whole buses go through that they miss somehow. Maybe this is the reason. Maybe we've got to limit or define their job and make it much more specific because they're proving shabby at whatever their direct responsibilities are.
No, I think what it comes down to, Neil, is actually making people uphold the rule of law like this administration. That's what's key here is we got an attorney general and a president creating and fabricating crises. Maybe what we need to do is look at them for creating this problem.
Okay. Congressman, thank you very much. I want to bring on our all-stars to this. Schaefer, Rick Unger, Jesse Jane Duff. Jesse, what do you make of what the Congressman was saying?
Why are we surprised? Government has never been ethical or honest based upon what we've seen in recent years, especially when we look at what's going on with the VA. You brought that up. $80,000 in bonuses for people that knew corruption was going on during their watch. Governor Rick Perry said it very well. He said they're either inept or there's an ulterior motive. And I have to have confidence in what the governor is saying because he has told the White House of this problem years before. He's never gotten an answer to a letter he wrote in 2010. So what's going on?
So, Sabrina, I wonder then if we're going to get or look to hire more border agents and they're of this caliber, not all of the ones who work at INS are of this caliber, then how do I know I'm getting the good guys looking after the bad guys?
Yeah, I think before we hire anyone else, we need to sort of rein back government altogether. I think all of these scandals, whether we're talking about the NSA, the IRS, the VA, or now Customs and Borders, I think this is a function of too big government. This is government that has become so big and so intrusive that corruption has become a mainstay. But before we do any more hiring, we need to clean house in all of these different agencies.
All right, now we do have the president's $2 billion fix for what was the busing thing, right,
yeah.
Rick? Now, is that addressing any of this or no?
Well, you know, the only way we're ever going to address anything, and with all due respect to the congressman, he is why we can't have an honest conversation. I don't know how to tell him this, but we've had crime long before this administration. We've had police officers. We've had border police. We've had all sorts of law enforcement officials being bribed by the bad guys. All he could do was...
Have we ever had 300?
Actually, we probably have. I mean, is that really that shocking? Out of 20, I don't know.
I'm not trying to justify past sins for present sins.
We have 20.
And what do we do? What does Rick Unger do about it? The president has a $2 billion plan. It's a $2 billion plan to fix problems with buses of kids coming here.
That doesn't speak to the problem of crooked
well, these are buses that these agents
miss. But you know what? We don't go the stupid, silly route of saying, if this president would enforce the law, come on. Root out the criminals.
You just did there. You just said that the prior president had the same problem.
I'm saying that lots of presidents probably had the same problem.
All right, so Jesse, what do we do, Jesse?
What a silly argument.
Inspire much confidence as it exists now.
Well, I don't even know that cleaning house is the answer, because the reality is we've said that same campaign slogan for the last 10, 15 years. This is how we make a change. We have an election coming. Everybody out there who's upset about this needs to hold their vote accountable. Write their senators, write their congressmen, and start being proactive. Sitting here and watching television and just complaining and throwing your ding-dongs at the television set isn't going to accomplish anything. Get a voice, get involved, and start making your voice heard, and then we'll start seeing change.
But people have to...
Good.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
Yeah, well, people have to know what they're supporting, and I think the thing for people to realize is that we need to make government smaller, because right now we have so many interests that, whether we're talking about lawmakers or regulatory agencies, everybody is currying favor, and in this case, they're currying favor to the drug smugglers. This is a really bad situation. I think James Madison put it really well a long time ago. He said, you know, if men were angels, we wouldn't need government. But that doesn't mean that government doesn't need to control itself on some level. We need to rein all of these agencies in significantly.
All right, guys, thank you all very much. When we come back, you think all of this is a slap at the Constitution. I want you to hear about the professor who no longer wants to teach the Constitution, says it's archaic. All you have to do is bounce that off our judge, because this Constitution is a hugely big deal.